Right now, as you're watching this video, your brain is being hijacked.
How much time do you spend doing this?
All the red indicates increases in brain activity, the effects of smartphone addiction.
Every swipe, every scroll, every notification, it's all designed to keep you trapped in an endless cycle. What if I told you that the same psychological techniques used by the CIA in their MK Ultra mind control experiments are now being deployed by tech companies on billions of people every single day? Welcome to the Intel Lair, and today we're diving deep into the dark psychology behind doomscrolling and why you literally cannot stop. The addiction by design. Let's start with a simple question. When was the last time you picked up your phone without a specific purpose? Can't remember? That's because it wasn't your choice. The average person checks their phone 96 times per day. That's once every 10 minutes during waking hours. But here's what they don't tell you. This isn't accidental. It's engineered addiction. Tech companies employ teams of neuroscientists, behavioral psychologists, and former casino designers. Yes, casino designers, to make their apps as addictive as possible. They call it attention engineering. But what they're really doing is weaponizing your brain's reward system. Every time you get a like, a comment, or see breaking news, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical released by cocaine, gambling, and other addictive substances. But here's the twisted part. They've designed these apps to give you intermittent, unpredictable rewards, just like a slot machine. The MK Ultra connection. Now, this might sound familiar to those who know their history. In the 1950s and 60s, the CIA conducted a series of illegal mind control experiments called MK Ultra.
I was given a glass of Kool-Aid, and so were the other children. This Kool-Aid was spiked with LSD.
To find ways to manipulate human behavior without the subject's knowledge or consent. They used techniques like sensory deprivation, repetitive messaging, and reward punishment cycles to break down psychological resistance. Sound familiar? Dr. Ewan Cameron, one of MK Ultra's key researchers, developed something called psychic driving, bombarding subjects with the same message hundreds of times until it overwrote their original thoughts.
Second was trying to program in new patterns of behavior by playing tape-recorded messages hundreds and hundreds of thousands of times.
Today, we call it your social media feed, but here's where it gets really dark. Many of the psychological techniques pioneered in MK Ultra didn't disappear when the program was officially shut down. They evolved. They went corporate. Stanford researcher Dr. B.J. Fogg created the Fogg Behavior Model, a framework for changing human behavior through technology. At Stanford, Dr. B.J. Fogg taught at the Persuasive Technology Lab, where his students, like Instagram co-founder Kevin Systrom, learned to design products that hook users. His behavior model now influences social media platforms, keeping us glued to our screens, using techniques that some argue echo MK Ultra's goal of controlling behavior. The neuroscience of digital addiction. Let's get into the science of how they're hijacking your brain. It all starts with something called the dopamine prediction pathway. Your brain evolved to release dopamine, not when you get a reward, but when you anticipate a reward. This kept our ancestors motivated to hunt, gather, and survive. But social media platforms have weaponized this system. Every time you pull down to refresh, your brain doesn't know if you'll get rewarded or not. Maybe there's a new message, maybe there isn't. This uncertainty creates what psychologists call variable ratio reinforcement, the most addictive form of conditioning known to science. But it gets worse. These platforms use machine learning algorithms that analyze thousands of data points about you. Your scroll speed, how long you pause on certain content, your facial expressions through your front camera, to create a personalized addiction profile. They know exactly what content will trigger your emotions, keep you engaged, and make you come back for more. It's behavioral modification on an industrial scale. Dr. Anna Lemke, Stanford's addiction specialist, calls social media the digital dopamine dealer. But unlike traditional drugs, this dealer follows you everywhere, knows your weaknesses, and never stops pushing.
Repeated exposure to the same or similar reinforcing stimulus, that initial spike upwards gets shorter and weaker, but that after response gets stronger and longer, and eventually we can end up in a chronic dopamine deficit state.
The Doomscrolling Trap. Now let's talk about doom scrolling specifically, that compulsive consumption of negative news and content. Why do we do it, even when it makes us miserable? It's called negativity bias. Our brains are evolutionarily wired to pay more attention to threats than positive information. Again, this kept our ancestors alive, but news algorithms exploit this bias ruthlessly. Negative content gets more engagement, more clicks, more shares, more comments. So algorithms serve you an endless buffet of outrage, fear, and anxiety because that's what keeps you scrolling. But here's the psychological trap. The more negative content you consume, the more your brain craves it. You become addicted to your own stress response. Your fight or flight system is constantly activated, flooding your body with cortisol and adrenaline. Dr. Larry Rosen's research shows that heavy social media users exhibit symptoms identical to PTSD patients: hypervigilance, intrusive thoughts, and emotional numbing. We're literally traumatizing ourselves, one scroll at a time. The bigger conspiracy. But why would tech companies want to keep us anxious, divided, and addicted? Follow the money. Your attention is their product. The more time you spend scrolling, the more data they collect, the more ads they can serve, the more money they make. In 2025, social media companies are projected to make around $270 billion from advertising. That's 270 billion reasons to keep you hooked. But there's a darker layer. Divisive, emotionally charged content doesn't just generate revenue, it fragments society. When people are isolated, anxious, and constantly fighting online, they're easier to control offline. Google design ethicist Tristan Harris warns that we're experiencing human downgrading, the systematic weakening of human attention, critical thinking, and social bonds. Some argue this isn't an accident, but a feature. Consider this: the same techniques being used to addict you to your phone could theoretically be used to influence your political beliefs, consumer choices, and worldview. In fact, Cambridge Analytica proved they already are. Breaking free. So how do you break free from this psychological prison? First, understand that this isn't a willpower problem, it's a design problem. You're not weak, you're being manipulated by some of the most sophisticated behavioral engineering in human history. Here are the practical steps. First, turn off all non-essential notifications. Every ping is a dopamine trigger designed to break your focus and pull you back into the scroll. Second, remove social media apps from your phone. Make it harder to access them impulsively. If you must use them, do it on a computer with a time limit set. Third, practice what I call attention hijacking awareness. Before you pick up your phone, pause and ask yourself, what am I looking for? Most of the time, you won't have an answer. Fourth, replace the dopamine hit with healthier alternatives. Exercise, real social interaction, reading, creating something, anything that gives you genuine satisfaction rather than artificial stimulation. Finally, understand that your attention is your most valuable resource. These companies are literally harvesting your consciousness and selling it to the highest bidder. Take it back. Closing the rabbit hole goes deeper than most people realize. What we've covered today is just the surface of how technology is being used to influence and control human behavior on a massive scale. In future videos, we'll explore more connections between historical mind control programs and modern psychological operations. We'll dive into how governments and corporations use these same techniques for social engineering, political manipulation, and mass behavioral modification. The question isn't whether you're being manipulated, you are. The question is, what are you going to do about it? If this video opened your eyes, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Ironically, one of the few notifications worth having. Share this with someone who needs to see it and let me know in the comments. When did you first realize your attention was being hijacked? This is the Intel Lair, where we decode the psychological operations hiding in plain sight. Until next time, question everything. Peace.